the first guy I thought of was you when I heard about Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga, because we actually spoke about Edgar Berlanga the last time around.
Yeah, good memory.
We weren't too happy with his performance.
No, no, that's right. Yeah, he was. It's funny you mentioned that because I didn't even think of that when you asked me about the Canelo fight. So yeah, it's. I think I'm disappointed like everybody else that this is the route Canelo's taking, who he chose for his next opponent. I get why it's happening, but still at the same time, as a fan, I'm not happy it's happening. But he's just at a stage where he can do what he wants. Canelo, he's made his bones, and he's on cruise control. I think as he's reaching the twilight of his career. Yeah. I just hope he's careful though, because right?
What's that?
No, at the same like with that said though, I just hope Canelo's being careful, because at this stage of his career, motivation can be a real thing too. So I hope he's taking Berlanga serious enough, because sometimes I think for a guy this type of fight for Canelo with Berlanga, it's I think it's a matter of how soon he stops him, and if he's not motivated enough, maybe it's a fight that he wins, but it goes longer than it had to because Canelo just didn't want to push and make that extra effort to put him away. I could see that happening too.
Do you think that Berlanga can do what Buster Douglas did to Mike Tyson?
No, I don't see that. I don't think Berlanga's in the same mental state that Buster Douglas was in going into that fight. Like, Douglas put himself into a special place for that fight with Tyson, and he rose to the occasion. And for one night, he was great, And but I think to me, on Berlanga's side, really, I just think he hit the lotto. I think he hit the lotto, and I think his management needs an award, because I think it was great work on his team's part getting in this fight. They're making the most out of his career, taking the path of least resistance. I mean, because truthfully, he had a pretty, on paper, impressive first-round knockout streak. But once that first-round knockout streak kind of ran its course and they started stepping up his opposition, we saw where he was struggling, and he got some tougher than expected victories, where if they would have kept him going and trying to progress him developmentally the way they were, they would have gotten beat before he landed this Canelo payday. Like somebody would, like, I think Diego Pacheco was the guy who probably would have beat him if they would have squared up when he was still with Top Rank. So I think there's some guys you want to prepare, where you want to make sure that when you get them a title shot, you want them to be ready to win. Other guys, where if the title shot comes, get it for them now before they get beat, and maximize on his value. And I think that's what they're doing with Berlanga. They kept him undefeated. They were really selectful with his opposition as he started moving up. And I'm not trying to discredit the guy. Like, I think he's a solid enough talent, and he's obviously a big puncher, but I think he's very limited. But I'm not happy the fight's happening, but I understand why it's happening. If you really think about it, he's a big punching guy from New York who's also Puerto Rican, right? And New York's got that Puerto Rican demographic, so he can sell some tickets, and make some noise at the box office, and that's attractive to a guy like Canelo, who's looking for a winnable fight, for a nice sizable paycheck again, So it's a business fight, and like at this point in his career, he's had 64 fights. He's been fighting professionally since he was a teenager. He's fought everybody. He's fought the who's who in the world of boxing in the last 10, 15 years. He's accomplished everything that you can think of accomplishing that you want to achieve in this game. He reached that pinnacle that other fighters aspire to be at. He did it. So again, I just think, as long as he's motivated and he trains, I think I'm expecting within 6 to 8 rounds, he probably stops Berlanga. If anything, Berlanga's best shot at going the distance is if once they start throwing leather and Canelo starts putting some heat on him, maybe Berlanga goes into a shell and just turtles up, and just does just enough to go the distance and keeps himself knocked out. I can see that happening too. Or I can also see, just from some of his behavior I've seen in recent fights, I can see Berlanga maybe, trying to get disqualified on purpose. I can see that too, because he's a bully. If I had to peg him, I think he's a classic bully, and he might try to take the bully's honorable way out and get himself disqualified before things start getting too hot.
Didn't Berlanga bite an opponent? If I'm not mistaken, he bit an opponent.
Say that again. I just caught the end of that.
Can you hear me? Okay, one moment. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
He did. That's why. That's why I'm saying I question this guy's stability in the ring to compose himself when the going gets tough. I don't think he has what it takes to perform under pressure when things start getting too sticky.
So Berlanga gets frustrated. He gets frustrated if he can't get the knockout.
Yeah.
And he pretty much all he has is the power, because we haven't really seen the skills with Berlanga.
No, I haven't seen those skills. I haven't seen any adjustments or any strategic movements in the ring. I just see a guy who's suffers from puncher syndrome, and just he's gonna. I mean, needless to say, he's gonna need a hell of a lot more than that to face. And he's not doing himself any favors either, because if we were worried that Canelo was maybe taking him lightly and was just on cruise control, the way he's acting and conducting himself during the pre-fight hype at these press conferences, he's doing everything he can to try to light a fire under Canelo's ass. That could be his undoing. Sometimes you gotta let sleeping dogs lie, But if he wakes up Canelo, I mean, we could see him. Maybe he doesn't make it to the 8th round. And I say 8th round because Canelo's saying 8 rounds, but maybe he doesn't even make it to the 8th round if he gets a fired up Canelo in there. There's a lot of restless, to me, aggressive energy that Berlanga's been putting out at these press conferences, and he's enjoying his 15 seconds of fame, and he's kind of I think he's a little overwhelmed by it, so he's acting out. And to me, I just think if he can't compose himself and find a way to channel that energy on fight night, he's gonna burn himself up. By round 3, he's gonna be smothered. It's like when you see, when you put a plastic bag over your head. I think by round 3, Berlanga's gonna be fighting like he's got a plastic bag over his head. If he doesn't compose himself and act like a pro's pro in there, because you're talking about, CaneloAlvarez has been on the big stage forever, since almost the beginning of his career, so he's been there before, and he's faced hard punches before. Yay, okay, you can punch hard. Well, fucking nobody punched harder than Triple G. Danny Jacobs could punch too, and these guys, James Kirkland, what are you thinking? The fucking shit you're saying is just ridiculous. And his people too, his trainers gassing him up like fucking idiots. Just shut up. All you have to do is just fight hard and give a good account of yourself. If you just fight hard, you don't even, the pressure is really on Canelo. All Berlanga has to do is fight hard and give a good account of himself. Because if he's done that, he's already risen above the public's expectations. So if he fights hard and gives a good account of himself, even in a losing effort, it's going to get him some more paydays down the line. So to me, just train hard, keep your fucking mouth shut, and get your ass in the gym and prepare your body, mind, and spirit to fight the fight of your life, and hope that you leave with all your teeth intact. Just
do you think perhaps Berlanga's Do you think perhaps Berlanga's talking a lot because he's upset? He keeps bringing up the haters. He keeps bringing that up. Do you think that he's
scared? He's scared. He's fucking scared to death. He's scared to death, and he's putting on a big fucking facade. To me, he's just scared. But I mean, he could be a little upset. Yeah, he could be a little upset that everybody knows that Benavidez is the best available opponent out there for Canelo. That's the guy who's the most rightful challenger to Canelo's titles. It's a fight that's been on the table for 5 years now, You know, especially these last couple of years, the fight should have happened. So everybody knows that. I think it's safe to say that at this point, Canelo's ducking him, avoiding him, whatever you want to call